All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're breaking down a really powerful parable about what you might call psychological sovereignty. It's a story about a jester who manages to escape a super toxic environment, only to realize that, well, the whispers from the people he left behind are still echoing from the canyon below. This is an explainer on the art of, let's say, strategic disengagement.
So right away we get this warning from a character called the Horn Guardian. He's telling the jester, hey, just because you got out of there doesn't mean it's over. The threat isn't a physical bite anymore, It's psychological. It's an echo. The tarantulas he escaped, they're still down there, festering in the gloom, and their venomous story is trying to crawl its way right back up the canyon walls.
So this first section really sets the stage perfectly. You've got the jester, who has physically climbed his way to freedom, and then you have the tarantulas, who are just stuck in the abyss down below. And the real tension here is that lingering connection, that echo of resentment that's traveling up from the depths, threatening the peace he just fought so hard to find.
Now, what's so cool about this is the massive contrast it paints. On the left, you see the jester's new reality. He's on a high ledge, he's got fresh air, sunlight, and a scar that's actually healing. But on the right, the tarantula's world is the total opposite. A dark abyss, stagnant gross air, and these thick, vibrating webs of just resentment. It's a battle between moving on and being completely stuck. Instead of just admitting that the jester was strong enough to escape, the tarantulas do something that's, well, very human. They just rewrite the whole story. They can't handle his win, so they reframe it to make themselves feel better. His escape? Nope, that was just cowardice. His joy and laughter? Oh, that's just proof he's insane. It's a classic defense mechanism, something you see everywhere, from internet trolls to office gossip.
And this gets us to the absolute core of what's driving the tarantulas. It's the venom that fuels them, and it's a very specific, very powerful emotion called ressentiment. So let's really unpack what that is.
Okay, so this isn't just your standard anger or jealousy. Ressentiment is this deep, simmering, powerless rage. It's the feeling of being wronged by someone you secretly think is better than you. Think of it like this. It's not just wanting what someone else has, it's wanting them to not have it. And then you build this whole moral story around why their success is actually evil and your own failure is somehow a sign of virtue.
And this is a perfect illustration of how they use that ressentiment to build a whole new reality for themselves. You can see their twisted logic right here. The jester's ambition? That's now a crime against their ideology of the Great Flattening, where no one gets to be better than anyone else. His self-preservation, the fact that he won't let them hurt him again, is somehow twisted into proof that he's the one filled with hate. And of course, they cast themselves as the heroes of the story, the good and the just.
So the jester hears these lies echoing up from the canyon, and he's got a choice to make. The Horn Guardian is basically tempting him, saying, "Don't you want to go down there and set the record straight?" And this is the moment of truth. This is where he has to decide what real power, what real sovereignty actually looks like.
And this is his incredible realization. The jester just gets it. He understands that to fight them on their terms, down in their cave, is to lose himself entirely. He'd have to use their weapons, anger, arguments, force. And if he does that, he just becomes another dark storm cloud, no different from the thing he escaped.
This whole insight follows this really clear logical path, which we can break down into 4 simple steps. 1. Going back down means he has to engage. 2. Engaging with all that negativity means he's only reacting to them. 3. If you're only reacting, then you're letting their malice define who you are. So, the final step, the really powerful one, is to just reject that entire chain and choose to define himself, on his own terms.
So the jester flat out refuses to become what the story calls a divisible self. And just think about that concept for a second. It's a self that's been split in two because it's defined by what it's fighting against. Your identity isn't whole anymore. It's just the not that thing. It's a really powerful idea for anyone who's ever felt totally consumed by a fight, where your whole life becomes about the thing you hate.
And this leads us to the jester's biggest breakthrough, the real point of this whole parable. He's about to reframe the entire situation, not as an attack he needs to defend himself from, but as a tragedy that he's watching from a safe distance.
And there it is, the crucial point. The jester flips the script. He realizes their hatred isn't really a weapon aimed at him at all. It's a cage that they're building around themselves, one brick of hate at a time. By obsessing over him, they make sure they never have to look up at the sun themselves. Their obsession is the very thing keeping them trapped in their own dark little world. And this slide just perfectly lays out what the bars of that prison are made of.
It's not iron or steel. It's envy of anyone who climbs higher. It's an obsession with every little imagined insult. It's a fixation on revenge that just eats up all their time and energy. And at the end of the day, it's a prison of self-deception, where they've managed to convince themselves their cage is actually a moral high ground.
Now compare that to the jester. While the tarantulas are trapped by looking outward, he's focusing inward. He feels the pain in his heel, yeah, but he accepts it. He sees it as this thing the text calls Anstoß, a necessary resistance. It's kind of like the burn you feel when you're lifting weights. That resistance isn't a sign to stop, it's the proof that you're actually getting stronger. For the jester, that pain is his proof.
He knows that hating them back would be a huge mistake. It would be like letting them bite him all over again, letting their venom get back into his system. He'd be forced to dance their dance, the tarantella, this crazy, out-of-control dance that's dictated by their poison. To hate them back is to be tied to them forever.
So all of this insight, all of this wisdom, it all builds up to the jester's final, most definitive action. He's got the logic. He's got the perspective. Now he just has to do one last thing to secure his freedom once and for all. And there it is, the ultimate move. The real act of power isn't winning the argument. It's not proving them wrong. It's the deliberate final choice to destroy the very connection that allows their poison to reach him in the first place. This isn't anger, it's clarity. He's choosing to burn that psychological bridge for good.
This quote just wraps up the whole parable perfectly. The willionaire or will fool, that's the sovereign person who follows their own will, their own path. Real power, real freedom comes from letting go. It's the profound choice to let other people be consumed by their own negativity while you just keep on climbing, playing your own game up among the peaks.
And so, this is where we leave them, on two totally different paths. The jester keeps climbing, and his scar isn't a wound anymore. It's a trophy, a reminder of what he survived. The tarantulas, though, they stay trapped. They might feel powerful in their anger, but they're only sovereign over their own bitterness.
This whole parable is just such a useful mental model. It really challenges us to look at the fights in our own lives and ask a really tough question. What are we clinging to? Which arguments are we getting into that only serve to trap us? The sovereignty of distance is a choice, and it leaves us with this final thought to chew on. In your own life, which bridges are worth burning so you can keep on climbing?